I'm Abigail Thompson, and I've spent 8 years sniffing out lies for a living. The Phoenix Innovation Summit should have been just another assignment, another room full of tech bros pitching recycled ideas. But the moment I stepped into that convention hall, I knew something was different. She stood near the registration desk like she owned the place. Blonde hair catching the harsh fluorescent lights, blue eyes scanning the crowd with military precision. Most people would see an attractive woman in a tailored business suit. I saw someone who evaluated exits, counted security cameras, and mentally cataloged every face in the room. Journalist? The voice belonged to Marcus Peterson, some hotshot entrepreneur I was supposed to interview later. Guilty as charged. I kept watching the blonde. She moved differently than everyone else, purposeful but fluid. That's Savannah Perry, security consulting startup. Dark horse in this competition. Security consulting. Right. And I was just a lifestyle blogger. The competition drew me in despite myself. 20 startups, 5 days, winner takes $100,000 and serious investor attention. Savannah's presentation was flawless, clinical, professional. She spoke about threat assessment and risk management with the casual confidence of someone who'd lived it. When my turn came, I found myself pitching harder than planned. My investigative journalism platform wasn't revolutionary, but I sold it like my life depended on it. Those blue eyes never left me during my entire presentation. Interesting angle, she said afterward, appearing beside me at the coffee station. Up close, she was devastating. Most people think journalism is dying. Most people think a lot of stupid things. Her smile was sharp as a blade. Agreed. Though I wonder what you really think about me. The honesty caught me off guard. I think you're not what you appear to be. None of us are. We made it to the finals. Of course we did. Tuesday's elimination round came down to business model presentations, and somehow I found myself going head-to-head with Savannah Perry for the judges' attention. Your security model assumes businesses actually want to know their vulnerabilities. I challenged during the Q&A. My experience suggests otherwise. Your experience covers Phoenix City Council meetings and restaurant reviews. Her response was surgical, precise. Mine covers actual threats. The tension in that conference room could have powered the entire building. Every person in there sensed we weren't just debating business models anymore. After the session, I cornered her in the hallway. What did you do before this startup fairy tale? I consulted. For who? People who needed consultation. I stepped closer, close enough to smell her perfume. Something expensive and dangerous. You know I'm going to find out. You know I'm not going to make it easy. The way she said it made my pulse race. This wasn't just professional curiosity anymore, and we both knew it. Whatever Savannah Perry was hiding, I wanted to uncover it. All of it. May the best woman win, I said. She will. Savannah's smile promised trouble, the kind I might actually enjoy. 3 days of digging through public records, corporate filings, and social media profiles yielded exactly nothing useful about Savannah Perry. She appeared in the digital world 5 years ago, like some kind of ghost materializing from thin air. Before that, complete void. I sat at my kitchen table surrounded by printouts and coffee cups, staring at the cleanest background check I'd ever encountered. Too clean. People don't just spring into existence at 33 with perfect credit, no college records, and a mysteriously well-funded startup. My phone buzzed. Competition results. Savannah had won. Damn her. The victory announcement came with a media photo that made my chest tighten unexpectedly. She looked radiant, confident, completely in control. Everything I found attractive and infuriating about her distilled into one perfect image. I needed caffeine and perspective. Desert Bloom Cafe sat tucked between a yoga studio and an organic market, exactly the kind of place where a security consultant might celebrate her win, or where a journalist might coincidentally grab her afternoon fix. She was already there when I arrived, sitting alone at a corner table with her laptop and something that looked too healthy to be coffee. Even in casual clothes, jeans, and a simple white shirt, she commanded attention. Stalking or coincidence? She asked without looking up as I approached. Research. Find anything interesting? I sat down across from her uninvited. You don't exist before 2019. Everyone has a past, Abigail. The way she said my name made it sound like a secret. Some are just more interesting than others. Interesting like classified interesting? Her fingers paused over her keyboard. For just a moment, something flickered across her face. Surprise, maybe. Or recognition that I was closer to the truth than she'd expected. You have quite an imagination. I have quite an instinct for bullshit. I leaned forward. Military, intelligence, witness protection? Wouldn't you like to know? The barista called my order. When I returned with my latte, Savannah had closed her laptop and was studying me with those unsettling blue eyes. What if I told you some stories are better left buried? She said. I'd say that's exactly the kind of thing someone with a dangerous past would say. She laughed, and the sound was genuine for the first time since I'd met her. You're relentless. It's my job. No, it's your nature. She tilted her head. The question is whether you can handle what you might find. Something electric passed between us across that small table. Not just professional intrigue anymore. Something deeper, more dangerous than either of us had planned on. Try me, I whispered. Savannah reached across the table and touched my hand. Just her fingertips against my knuckles, but it sent heat straight through me. Maybe I will. Then she leaned forward and kissed me, soft at first, questioning, giving me a chance to pull away. When I didn't, she deepened it, her hand sliding to the back of my neck. I'd kissed plenty of people in my 32 years, but nothing had ever felt like this, like falling off a cliff and discovering you could fly. When we broke apart, her eyes searched mine. Still want to dig up my secrets? More than ever. Even if they're dangerous? I touched her cheek. Especially then. Savannah smiled, and for the first time, it reached her eyes. You have no idea what you're getting into, do you? Absolutely none. I kissed her again, tasting coffee and possibility and the promise of trouble. Can't wait to find out. The kiss at Desert Bloom Cafe changed everything between us, but neither of us acknowledged it directly. Professional boundaries became suggestions we danced around for the next week. I pitched the profile story to my editor like it was just another assignment, not an excuse to spend time with the woman who'd been occupying my thoughts since that moment at the coffee shop. Local entrepreneur wins innovation summit, I told Sarah over the phone. Rags to riches angle, inspiring female success story. Does she have an interesting background? Still working on that part. What I didn't mention was that Savannah had agreed to the interviews with surprising ease. Most people with secrets avoid journalists like poison. She invited me in. Her office occupied the top floor of a renovated warehouse downtown. All exposed brick and industrial chic. Security consulting apparently paid well enough for prime real estate and expensive furniture. Or she had money from somewhere else entirely. Impressive setup for a startup, I said, settling into the leather chair across from her desk. I believe in investing in quality. She poured water from a glass pitcher, her movements precise. Everything about Savannah was precise. Clients noticed details. What kind of clients? The kind who value discretion. I set my recorder on the desk between us. Mind if we start with your background? Education, early career? What led you to Phoenix? For just a moment, she hesitated. I prefer focusing on the present. Readers connect with personal stories. Where you came from, how you got here. I came from somewhere else. I got here by working hard. Somewhere else covers a lot of territory. She leaned back in her chair, studying me. You're not going to let this go. It's what I do. What if I told you my past involves classified information? My pulse quickened. I'd ask you to elaborate. And if I couldn't, I'd respect that. I turned off the recorder, but off the record, I'd still be curious. Savannah stood and moved to the window overlooking downtown Phoenix. The afternoon sun caught the gold in her hair, and I found myself watching the elegant line of her neck instead of taking notes. Curiosity can be dangerous, Abigail. So can secrets. She turned back to me. What if my secrets could get you hurt? What if keeping them could hurt you more? Something shifted in her expression then. For the first time since I'd met her, Savannah Perry looked uncertain. I spent 15 years doing work I can't talk about, she said quietly. For people I can't name, in places that don't officially exist. The admission hung between us like a confession. I'd suspected military or intelligence background, but hearing her confirm it sent adrenaline through my system. CIA? Among others. Why did you leave? I got tired of being someone else. She moved closer, close enough that I could see flecks of silver in her blue eyes, of pretending emotions I didn't feel, relationships I didn't want. And now? Now I'm discovering what it feels like to want something real. The air between us crackled with tension. This wasn't an interview anymore. This was two women circling each other, testing boundaries neither understood fully. This is complicated, I whispered. Yes. She reached out and touched my cheek. Does that scare you? Terrifies me. Good. She leaned down and kissed me, soft and searching. Fear keeps you honest. When we broke apart, I was breathing hard. I should go. You should. Neither of us moved. Abigail. Her voice was rough. If you stay, things change between us. They already have. She pulled me up from the chair, and suddenly we were pressed together, her hands in my hair, my arms around her waist. The kiss was desperate this time, months of attraction and professional tension finally finding release. Your place or mine? She murmured against my lips. Mine's closer. My apartment was a disaster zone of research materials and empty takeout containers. But Savannah didn't seem to notice. The moment we got inside, she had me pressed against the door, kissing me with an intensity that made my knees weak. Are you sure about this? She asked between kisses. No. I pulled her closer. Are you? Not even a little bit. We barely made it to my bedroom. Morning light streamed through my bedroom blinds, casting golden stripes across Savannah's bare shoulder. She lay beside me, blonde hair spilling across my pillow, looking more peaceful than I'd ever seen her. For a moment, I allowed myself to pretend this was normal, that we were just two women who'd found each other without the weight of secrets between us. Then she opened those blue eyes, and reality crashed back. This complicates things, she said softly. Only if we let it. I traced lazy patterns on her arm, not ready to face the morning yet. Unless you regret it. No. She turned to face me fully. But my life isn't simple, Abigail. Getting involved with me puts you at risk. From who? People who don't like it when former assets go off script. The word assets sent a chill through me. Not employees or agents. Assets. Property to be managed and controlled. How long has it been since you left? 3 years. She sat up, sheets pooling around her waist. Long enough that I thought I was safe. Not long enough that they've forgotten about me. My journalist instincts warred with something deeper, more protective. What kind of work exactly? The kind that required different names, different faces, different lives. She looked down at her hands. I was good at becoming other people. Too good. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. Text message from an unknown number. Savannah went rigid as I reached for it. Don't. It's just a text. Abigail, don't touch that phone. But I was already reading the message. You've been invited to participate in an exclusive treasure hunting experience. High stakes, higher rewards. Details enclosed. An elaborate invitation downloaded automatically, complete with location coordinates and a substantial cash prize. $50,000 for the winning team. Damn it. Savannah was already out of bed, pulling on her clothes with quick, precise movements. They found me. Who found you? This is probably just spam marketing. Nothing about you is spam, sweetheart. She was in full operational mode now, checking the locks on my windows, evaluating sightlines, treasure hunts, contests, games. It's how they operate when they want something but can't take it directly. They who? People who think I still owe them something. She turned back to me, and I saw real fear in her eyes. You need to delete that message and forget you ever received it. Like hell. This isn't negotiable. I pulled on my robe and stood to face her. Everything about us is negotiable. That's what relationships are. We don't have a relationship, she said, the words hitting like physical blows. We have a complication. The hurt must have shown on my face because her expression immediately softened. She reached for me, then stopped herself. I didn't mean that. Yes, you did. I moved past her toward the kitchen. You meant it because it's safer to push me away than risk whatever's coming. She followed me. Abigail, listen to me. No. I poured coffee with shaking hands. You listen to me. I've spent my entire career digging into things that powerful people want buried. I don't scare easily, and I don't run from stories. This isn't a story. This is survival. Then we survive it together. The argument that followed was vicious and necessary. She accused me of naive romanticism. I accused her of cowardice disguised as protection. We said things designed to hurt, words meant to create distance and safety. But underneath the anger was desperation. Two people who'd found something real and precious, fighting over how to keep it alive. I can't lose you, she said finally, the admission breaking something open between us. Then don't push me away. If something happens to you because of me, then we face it together. I moved closer, drawn by the vulnerability in her voice. Savannah, I'm in this. Whatever this is, wherever it leads, I'm in. When she kissed me this time, it tasted like surrender. Not defeat, but the acknowledgement that some risks are worth taking, some battles worth fighting together. We made love again with desperate intensity, knowing that whatever came next would test everything we were building between us. Her hands mapped my body like she was memorizing every detail, every response. I lost myself in the heat of her skin. The soft sounds she made, the way she whispered my name like a prayer. Afterward, lying tangled together, she picked up my phone and stared at the invitation. If we're doing this, we do it my way, she said quietly. What's your way? We go in prepared for war. Elena Rodriguez wore the kind of smile that belonged in corporate boardrooms and high-stakes poker games. She stood at the front of the Desert Phoenix Resort's conference room, addressing 12 carefully selected participants like we were about to embark on some thrilling adventure, instead of whatever dangerous game Savannah suspected this really was. Welcome to the Phoenix Legacy Hunt, Elena announced, her voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed. Each team will receive a series of progressively challenging clues leading to a final treasure worth $50,000. I scanned the other participants. Tech entrepreneurs, adventure bloggers, a few obvious thrill seekers, normal people drawn by the promise of money and excitement. Then there was Marcus Peterson from the Innovation Summit, his calculating eyes already evaluating potential alliances and threats. Savannah sat beside me, every muscle coiled for trouble. She'd spent the morning teaching me basic situational awareness, how to identify exits, spot surveillance, read body language for hostile intent. Most of it went over my head, but I absorbed what I could. Teams of 2, Elena continued. You'll have 48 hours to complete all challenges. First team to reach the final location and claim the prize wins everything. She handed out sealed envelopes containing our first clue, along with basic supplies and emergency communication devices, professional-grade equipment that confirmed Savannah's suspicions about this being more than a simple treasure hunt. Our first clue, I said, opening the envelope, where ancient waters carved secrets deep, and modern tunnels hide what Phoenix founders buried beneath sleeping desert stones. The underground canal system, Savannah said immediately. Built in the 1800s, expanded during World War II. Most of it's been sealed off for decades. How do you know about sealed underground tunnels? I know about a lot of things I shouldn't. She studied the map Elena had provided. The entrance is downtown, near the old courthouse. But, Abigail, these tunnels are dangerous. Cave-ins, flooding, getting lost in the dark. Sounds like the perfect place to hide something valuable. Or to trap someone. We grabbed our gear and headed downtown while other teams scattered to libraries and internet cafes, probably researching Phoenix history. Savannah's knowledge gave us an advantage, but her tension was infectious. She kept checking over her shoulder, scanning rooftops, evaluating every person we passed like potential threats. The tunnel entrance was hidden behind a maintenance building, secured with a lock that looked official, but yielded to the tools Savannah produced from her backpack with uncomfortable ease. Don't ask, she said, catching my expression. I wasn't going to. The tunnels were everything she'd warned me about. Narrow passages carved from stone and concrete, with dark water running along the bottom and the constant sound of dripping echoing from invisible sources. Our flashlights created dancing shadows that made every bend look like it might hide danger. "Stay close," Savannah whispered. "These passages connect to old mining tunnels, easy to get turned around." We followed the main corridor for what felt like miles, looking for anything that matched our next clue. The air grew colder and staler as we went deeper, until our breath created small clouds in the flashlight beams. That's when we heard the voices behind us. Savannah immediately pulled me into a side passage, switching off our lights and pressing her finger to my lips. Two men were moving through the main tunnel, their conversation echoing off the stone walls. "Elite team made it down here first," one said. "Boss wants them delayed, not eliminated." "Yet, what about the journalist? Collateral damage if necessary." My blood turned ice cold. Savannah's grip on my arm tightened as she processed the implications. This wasn't just about whatever she'd taken from her former employers. They were willing to hurt me to get to her. The voices faded as the men continued deeper into the tunnels. Savannah waited several minutes before turning her flashlight back on, keeping the beam low. "We need to move," she whispered. Fast and quiet. Who were they? Cleanup crew. Probably armed. She checked her watch. Elena's people, most likely. This whole hunt is an elaborate setup. For what? To get me somewhere isolated where they can take me without witnesses. She looked at me with something close to desperation. "Abigail, you need to leave, now. Go back the way we came." "Not happening. This isn't a discussion." "You're right." I moved deeper into the tunnel. "It's a partnership. You need my research skills. I need your tactical whatever you call it. We find this treasure. We expose whoever Elena really works for. We get out together." "You're insane." "I'm motivated." She caught up to me, shaking her head. "If we die down here, I'm blaming you. If we die down here, I won't be in a position to care." Despite everything, she laughed. The sound echoed weirdly in the confined space, but it eased some of the tension between us. We found the next clue hidden behind a loose stone, near what looked like an old mining elevator shaft. The metal cage was rusted but functional, descending into darkness that our flashlights couldn't penetrate. "Of course it goes deeper," I muttered. "The fun's just starting," Savannah said, but she squeezed my hand as we stepped into the elevator cage together. The mine shaft descended into darkness that seemed to swallow our flashlight beams. The air grew thicker and warmer as we went deeper, carrying the metallic scent of earth and old machinery. My ears popped from the pressure change as the elevator cage shuddered to a stop. "Haven't been in a mine in years," Savannah muttered, checking our equipment as we stepped out into the narrow chamber. "Part of your mysterious past?" "Training exercise. Very different context." She swept her flashlight across rough stone walls and support timbers, but the same rules apply. Metal fatigue, unstable rock, pockets of bad air. The next clue had been carved directly into the stone wall, crude but clear in the harsh LED light. "Where copper veins converge, follow the star-marked path to Forgotten Chamber. Beware the Guardian's final test." Stars had been chiseled into the rock at intervals, leading deeper into the mine system. We followed them through passages that grew progressively narrower, forcing us to move single file with Savannah in the lead. "Company behind us," she said suddenly, freezing mid-step. I strained to hear what she'd detected. Footsteps echoing from the elevator shaft. Multiple people moving with purpose, not the casual exploration of other treasure hunters. Elena's cleanup crew. Or Marcus Peterson. He disappeared from the surface about 20 minutes after we did. Savannah considered our options. Either way, they're tracking us. How? The communication devices Elena gave us. She pulled hers out and showed me the small LED that pulsed steadily. GPS trackers disguised as emergency beacons. She smashed both devices against the stone wall, plunging us into the kind of darkness that made you question the existence of light anywhere in the universe. Backup plan? We find this treasure before they find us. Her voice was steady, professional, and we hope there's another way out. The star-marked path led to a natural cavern where 5 tunnels branched off in different directions. Water dripped somewhere in the darkness, creating eerie echoes that made it impossible to pinpoint the source. Guardian's final test, I said, reading the inscription again. Has to be a puzzle. Savannah played her light across each tunnel entrance. 4 showed signs of recent passage, disturbed dust, scuff marks on stone. The 5th looked untouched, sealed with what appeared to be the same type of lock we'd encountered at the surface entrance. Everyone else went the obvious routes, she said. We go where no one's been. The lock yielded to her tools within seconds, revealing a passage that felt different somehow, older, more deliberately constructed than mining tunnels. The walls were smooth, almost finished, with symbols carved at regular intervals. Pre-Columbian? I suggested, running my fingers over intricate geometric patterns. Wrong culture, right idea. Savannah paused at a series of symbols that looked vaguely familiar. Military Engineering Corps. This was built during the war, probably connected to some classified project. The passage opened into a circular chamber dominated by an elaborate mechanism of gears and levers built into the stone walls. In the center sat a metal chest that looked far too modern for its ancient setting. That's it, I breathed. The treasure. That's a trap. Savannah caught my arm as I moved toward the chest. Look at the floor. Pressure plates were barely visible in the stone flooring, designed to blend seamlessly with the natural rock. The entire chamber was one massive booby trap. So how do we get to it? Very carefully. She studied the gear mechanism, tracing the connections with her flashlight. It's not about avoiding the pressure plates, it's about activating them in sequence. The sound of voices echoed from the tunnel behind us, growing closer. Multiple people, armed and professional from the sound of it. Time's up, I said. Savannah looked at me with an expression I'd learned to recognize. The moment when training took over from caution, when calculated risk became necessary action. Stay exactly where you are, she said. Don't move until I tell you. She began crossing the chamber in a complex pattern, stepping on specific plates in an order that must have made sense to her tactical mind. Each step triggered mechanical clicks from the gear system, ancient engineering responding to precise inputs. The chest unlocked with a satisfying thunk just as Marcus Peterson appeared in the tunnel entrance, flanked by 2 men I recognized from the surface. Not Elena's people after all. Impressive, Marcus said, raising what was definitely not standard treasure hunting equipment. Former CIA assets really do have the most interesting skill sets. Marcus. Savannah's voice carried grim recognition. Foreign intelligence? Freelance acquisitions. He smiled without warmth. Elena Rodriguez sends her regards, by the way. She's quite disappointed in your career change. The pieces clicked together in my journalist brain. Marcus had been part of this from the beginning, the Innovation Summit just another layer of the elaborate trap designed to corner Savannah. What's in the chest? I asked. Information that belongs to my current employers, Marcus replied. Information that a certain former operative stole during her unauthorized departure. Savannah's laugh was sharp with recognition. You mean the files documenting illegal arms sales to terrorist organizations? Those files? Alleged sales. Alleged organizations. I have proof. Not anymore. The chamber suddenly felt much smaller as Marcus's colleagues moved to flank us. Professional killers in a confined space with limited exits. Even Savannah's training had limits. That's when she looked at me with an expression that spoke of desperate measures and impossible odds. The look of someone about to risk everything on a single play. When I say run, she whispered, you run for the tunnel, don't look back. Savannah, now. She hit something on the gear mechanism that sent the entire chamber into mechanical chaos. Ancient engineering designed for a different kind of warfare responded with deadly efficiency, stone blocks sliding from hidden alcoves, pressure plates triggering in rapid sequence. I ran for the tunnel as she'd ordered, but turned back in time to see her grab the chest and dive for cover as the chamber began collapsing around Marcus and his men. In the chaos and dust and darkness, I lost sight of everything except the tunnel entrance and Savannah's voice calling my name. We regrouped in the passage, both of us breathing hard, covered in dust and debris. She clutched the metal chest against her body like it contained the secrets of the universe. That was insane, I gasped. That was Tuesday. She kissed me hard and desperate, tasting like adrenaline and survival. Are you hurt? No, you? I'll live. Her smile was fierce with victory. And now we have answers. The metal chest sat between us in the abandoned mining office we'd found topside. Its contents spread across the dusty table, like evidence of crimes we'd only begun to understand. Photographs, documents, financial records, all bearing the unmistakable seal of operations that officially never existed. This is it, Savannah said quietly, holding up a photograph of weapons transfers in some desert location. What they've been hunting me for 3 years to recover. I studied the documents with my journalist's eye, cataloging names, dates, financial transactions that painted a picture of systematic corruption reaching into the highest levels of government. These could bring down entire administrations. That was the idea. She looked exhausted, years of running finally catching up to her. I thought I could disappear, start over. But you can't outrun the kind of people who orchestrate arms deals with terrorists. The coordinates on our final treasure hunt clue had led us here, to this abandoned facility in the Arizona desert. What we'd found wasn't treasure in any conventional sense, but information valuable enough to kill for. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, though I suspected I knew the sender. Final location identified. Come alone or the journalist dies. You have 1 hour. Elena, I said, showing Savannah the message. She's been pulling strings from the beginning. Savannah was already checking her weapon, making calculations I couldn't follow. Marcus was just hired muscle. Elena's the real handler. Your former boss? Former handler, there's a difference. Her smile was grim. Bosses give orders. Handlers own you. I understood then why she'd been so afraid of getting involved with me. In Elena's world, emotional attachments were vulnerabilities to be exploited or eliminated. We don't have to give her what she wants, I said. These files, we could publish them, blow the whole thing open, and spend the rest of our lives looking over our shoulders. Savannah touched my face gently. If we had lives to spend. So, what do you want to do? I want to end this. She kissed me softly, tasting like determination and goodbye. I want to stop running. The final coordinates led to a mesa overlooking the desert, accessible only by a winding dirt road that screamed ambush site to anyone with tactical awareness. Elena waited at the top with a small army of professional operators, all of them armed and positioned with military precision. Savannah, Elena called as we approached with our hands visible but not quite raised. You look well. Retirement agrees with you. Elena. Savannah's voice carried years of complicated history. Still recruiting from military prisons and foreign intelligence services? Still sentimental about assets who've outlived their usefulness. Elena Rodriguez was older than I'd expected, maybe 50, with silver threading through dark hair and the kind of eyes that evaluated everything in terms of cost and benefit. She looked like someone's aunt until you noticed how her people positioned themselves for maximum tactical advantage. The files, please. Elena held out her hand like she was asking for spare change. What files? Savannah replied. The ones in the chest your journalist girlfriend is carrying. I felt the weight of the metal container in my hands, understanding finally that it had never been about treasure or competition. Everything had been orchestrated to bring us to this moment, this place, with these people. Clever trap, I said. Fake treasure hunt, real intelligence retrieval operation. Ms. Thompson. Elena's attention shifted to me with uncomfortable intensity. Your reputation precedes you. Investigative journalist, specializes in exposing government corruption. What did you think when you saw those files? I thought someone needed to go to prison. How delightfully naive. Elena smiled without warmth. Those operations prevented 3 terrorist attacks on American soil. The arms sales were part of an infiltration strategy that saved thousands of lives. Bullshit, Savannah said. Is it? You were there for 2 of the operations. You know what we prevented. I saw doubt flicker across Savannah's face, the first crack in her certainty about the moral weight of what we'd discovered. Elena noticed it too. She never told you about Kandahar, did she? Elena continued. About the school bombing we prevented by providing weapons to exactly the right people at exactly the right time? Elena. Savannah's voice carried a warning. Or about the chemical weapon facility in Syria that mysteriously exploded before it could produce enough sarin to kill half of Damascus. Stop. Your girlfriend isn't just a former spy, Miss Thompson. She's a former assassin. 23 confirmed kills, most of them people who never saw her coming. The revelation hit me like cold water, recontextualizing everything I thought I knew about the woman I'd fallen in love with. Savannah wouldn't look at me, her face stone-cold professional. That's why she's so good at reading people, at spotting threats, at moving through the world like everyone around her is a potential target, Elena said. Because for 15 years, they were... Enough. Savannah stepped forward, placing herself between Elena and me. You want the files? Take them. But she walks away from this. That's not how this works anymore. Elena's smile was predatory. She's seen too much, knows too much. You involved a civilian in classified operations. That's treason. The standoff stretched between them, years of professional relationship turned toxic. I understood finally that this wasn't just about stolen files or arms deals. This was personal. Two women who'd once trusted each other now prepared to kill to protect what mattered most. I have a counter-proposal, I said, surprising everyone, including myself. We destroy the files right here, right now. No one gets them, no one gets prosecuted, everyone walks away. Unacceptable, Elena replied. Then you get nothing. I held up the lighter I'd been carrying since our underground adventure. These burn, your operation gets exposed anyway when I publish the story. Your choice. The silence stretched across the desert like heat shimmer, dangerous and unpredictable. Then Elena laughed. You're bluffing. Destroy evidence of government operations you don't understand. Operations that saved lives. Try me. I flicked the lighter, holding the flame inches from the papers. Elena's people tensed, weapons shifting slightly in their hands. That's when Savannah moved with the deadly efficiency Elena had just described, disarming the closest operative and using him as a human shield in one fluid motion. New plan, she announced. We all walk away, or this gets very complicated very quickly. The standoff shattered when Marcus Peterson emerged from behind the communications trailer, very much alive and holding what looked like military-grade explosives. Elena's carefully orchestrated operation was unraveling faster than anyone had anticipated. Foreign freelancer, double agent, or just remarkably well-informed opportunist? Savannah asked, never taking her eyes off Elena's remaining operatives. All three, depending on the day. Marcus smiled like this was all some elaborate game. Elena hired me to retrieve those files. My actual employers want them destroyed. Everyone gets what they want. Except us, I said. Collateral damage. Elena's expression shifted from confident control to deadly calculation. Marcus, you're making a serious mistake. Those files contain operational details that could compromise active missions worldwide. That's rather the point. He armed the explosive device with casual efficiency. Turns out arms dealing with terrorist organizations looks bad when exposed, even when done for the alleged greater good. I kept the lighter flame near the documents, creating a three-way standoff in the middle of the Arizona desert. Elena wanted the files preserved, Marcus wanted them destroyed along with us, and I wanted everyone to just walk away intact. Abigail, Savannah said quietly, when I say move, you drop everything and run for the vehicle. I'm not leaving you. This isn't negotiable. Everything about us is negotiable, remember? Despite the deadly tension, she almost smiled. You're going to get us both killed. Probably. That's when Elena made her move, signaling her operatives to advance while Marcus triggered his explosives device. The timing was perfect for chaos, terrible for survival. Savannah released her human shield and dove toward me as gunfire erupted across the mesa. I dropped the lighter, watching our evidence scattered by desert wind as bullets kicked up dust around us. Vehicle, Savannah shouted, returning fire with stolen weapons. Now. We ran through crossfire toward the jeep we'd driven up the mesa, Marcus's explosive countdown adding urgency to every step. Elena's people were professionals, but they were caught between us and Marcus, making tactical decisions complicated. 30 seconds, Marcus announced cheerfully, like we were playing some deadly party game. I threw myself into the passenger seat as Savannah started the engine. She spun the vehicle around, tires churning in desert sand, heading for the narrow road that led down from the mesa. They'll follow us, I said. Not if Marcus's explosives are as good as they look. The explosion behind us lit up the late afternoon sky, sending shockwaves through the desert air. I turned to see the communications trailer, and most of the mesa's electronic equipment disappearing in smoke and debris. Elena? Professional survivor. She made it out. Savannah navigated the winding road with the kind of precision that came from training in hostile environments. Marcus, on the other hand. You think he's dead? I think he got exactly what he wanted. The files destroyed, Elena's operation compromised, maximum chaos for minimum personal investment. We drove in silence for several miles, both processing what had just happened. The documents were gone, scattered across the desert, or consumed by Marcus's explosives. Elena's people had bigger problems than chasing two fleeing women. For the first time in 3 years, Savannah was genuinely free. So what now? I asked. Now we disappear for a while. She glanced at me, checking for injuries or shock. Elena will regroup eventually. But without the files, she has no leverage. I'm just another former asset who knows too much. And the story? What story? A treasure hunt that ended in an accidental explosion? Some missing government documents that may or may not have contained classified information? She reached over and took my hand. Nothing that would hold up in court or satisfy your journalistic standards. She was right, of course. Without the physical evidence, I had nothing but hearsay and speculation. Elena's operation would be quietly shut down, personnel reassigned, official reports filed and classified. I'm sorry, Savannah said, as we reached the main highway. For what? For getting you involved in this. For not telling you about my past sooner. For letting you see what I really am. I considered her words as Phoenix appeared on the horizon, city lights beginning to twinkle in the gathering dusk. What she really was, someone who'd killed people in service of operations she wasn't entirely sure were justified. Someone who'd spent 15 years living other people's lives. Someone who'd risked everything to protect me from consequences I'd chosen to face. I love what you really are, I said finally. She pulled over at a scenic overlook, parking so we could see the entire valley spread out below us. City lights, desert darkness, stars beginning to appear in the clear Arizona sky. Even knowing what Elena said about me? Especially knowing, I turned to face her fully. You spent 15 years being whoever they needed you to be. Now you get to be whoever you want to be. And who's that? Someone who chose truth over safety. Someone who saved my life multiple times today. Someone brave enough to love me despite the complications. She kissed me then, soft and searching, tasting like desert dust and new possibilities. When we broke apart, her eyes were bright with unshed tears. I want to be with you, she said simply. Then be with me. It won't be simple. My skills, my background, the way I see the world. Nothing about love is simple. I traced her cheek with my fingertips. But it's worth fighting for. We held each other as night settled over the desert. Two women who'd found something worth more than treasure or secrets or safety. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight we had each other and the promise of whatever came next. Partners? She asked. In every way that matters. 6 months after the Mesa explosion, my byline appeared on the front page of the Phoenix Herald with a story that made national headlines. Not about arms deals or government conspiracies, but about systematic corruption in city planning that had been hiding in plain sight while everyone focused on bigger scandals. Thompson and Associates strikes again. Jake from the sports desk called out as I walked through the newsroom. Associates? I looked around at my one-person operation. Your mysterious partner, the blonde who shows up at crime scenes before the cops sometimes. Savannah had become something of an urban legend in Phoenix journalism circles. A security consultant who somehow knew where stories would break before they happened, who could analyze crime scenes with disturbing accuracy, who made sources nervous and editors suspicious. What they didn't know was that we'd become the most effective investigative team in the city by combining my research skills with her ability to think like the criminals we were exposing. She's good at pattern recognition, I told Jake. She's good at something. I found Savannah at our favorite coffee shop, reading reports on her tablet with the focused intensity that meant she'd found our next case. 3 months ago, we'd made the partnership official. Thompson and Perry Investigative Services, specializing in the kinds of stories traditional journalism couldn't touch. Missing persons case, she said without looking up. 3 women, all disappeared from the same neighborhood over the past 6 months. Police say they're runaways. But you don't think so. I think someone's very good at making people disappear. She showed me the files Elena Rodriguez had sent anonymously. Our former adversary had become an unexpected source, feeding us information about cases that needed attention. Elena's way of making amends, apparently. Or keeping us busy so we don't look too closely at her new operations. Probably both. Savannah's smile was sharp with professional appreciation. But the cases are legitimate, and the victims deserve justice. We'd developed a routine over the past months. Coffee, case review, field investigation, then home to the house we'd bought together in Central Phoenix. A normal life built on the foundation of very abnormal skills. There's something else, she said, her tone shifting to personal. I heard from an old contact. Elena's officially retired. New handlers, new operations, complete reorganization. What does that mean for us? It means we're genuinely free. No more looking over shoulders, no more waiting for the other shoe to drop. She reached across the table and took my hand. It means we can plan for the future. The future. 6 months ago, the concept had terrified both of us. Savannah because she'd never had one that wasn't dictated by handlers and missions. Me because I'd never found anyone worth building one with. What kind of future? I asked. The kind where we solve cases together, expose corruption together, maybe even take vacations like normal people. She paused, studying my face. The kind where I stop being afraid that my past will destroy what we have. Your past made you who you are, and who you are is exactly who I love. She kissed me across the small table, coffee-flavored and full of promise. Around us, the lunch crowd continued their conversations about mundane things like work schedules and weekend plans, oblivious to the fact that 2 women were quietly planning a lifetime of adventure together. So, missing persons case, I said when we broke apart. Where do we start? We start by talking to people the police didn't bother interviewing. Savannah's expression shifted back to professional focus. Street workers, runaways, people who exist in the spaces law enforcement ignores. The invisible victims. The ones who matter most. An hour later, we were walking through the neighborhood where the women had disappeared, Savannah cataloging escape routes and potential ambush sites while I talked to residents about what they'd seen. 2 skill sets that complemented each other perfectly. Professional partnership that had evolved into something deeper and more permanent than either of us had expected. There, she said, pointing to a warehouse that looked abandoned but showed subtle signs of recent activity. Someone's maintaining that building. Gut feeling or tactical analysis? Both. I made notes while she took photographs, documenting everything with the methodical precision that characterized all our cases. Tonight we'd research property records and corporate filings. Tomorrow we'd conduct surveillance. Within a week we'd have enough evidence to expose whoever was responsible for the disappearances. I love this, I said, as we headed back to our vehicle. The investigation? The partnership. Working together, building something together. I stopped walking and pulled her into my arms right there on the sidewalk. Building a life together. Even when it's dangerous? Especially then. She laughed, the sound echoing off empty storefronts and chain-link fences. You realize we're probably going to spend the rest of our lives walking into dangerous situations together. I can't think of anyone else I'd rather face danger with. Good, she said, kissing me with the intensity of someone who'd finally found home. Because I'm planning on keeping you around for a very long time. As we drove home through Phoenix traffic, I thought about the story we'd become, not the dramatic tale of government conspiracies and desert explosions, but the quieter narrative of 2 women who'd found each other and decided to build something lasting. Tomorrow would bring new cases, new investigations, new opportunities to expose the kind of corruption that thrived in darkness. But tonight we had each other, and the promise of whatever adventures lay ahead. Partners, Savannah said, echoing our conversation from 6 months ago. Partners, I agreed, in every way that matters. And for the first time in either of our lives, the future looked exactly like something worth fighting for.